Stream on. Welcome everyone. My name is Shanti and I will be your host for the next session. I'm going to be teaming up for a second time with the lovely Patricia Aguirre. We will be starting in about 7 minutes for those who are watching the replay, so you can fast forward if you would like. And in the meantime, we're going to open up the waiting room to those with the all access pass. So that everybody can get comfy. Hi, welcome everyone. It's really great to have all of you here. Some of you have been here for a couple days now to many of the sessions, so I'd love to hear from you. What were some of your favorite frames from the sessions that you've attended? And for those who are joining us for the first time, welcome. I'd love to hear a little bit about why did this particular session call to you, and what are you hoping to get out of it?
Great questions, Shanti. Thank you.
Feel free to drop it into the chat, and also so that we can get a sense of where your feet are landing on this planet today. You can either put it into the chat or you can rename yourself with the location you're at. For those who are paying attention, I was calling in from Chicago yesterday, and since then I have taken my first flight since the pandemic started. It's been a good couple years since I've flown. It was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I was really lucky to have my cousin with me. And that was like a sort of a thing of self-care that we did, that we sort of like prepped for this trip together and figured out all the ways to sort of calm our nerves for something that we hadn't done in a while. And yeah, it was a good experience. So now I'm in warmer weather, which makes me very happy because I'm always cold.
And there's like a tropical storm really close by?
Yeah, that's what I hear, but I think it sort of misses our area, so we got lucky. It didn't affect our flight at all, and it's not going to affect my stay here. Great. So yeah, welcome. We've got about 4 more minutes before we start the party. So if there's anything you'd like to grab or do to sort of get comfortable for the next half hour, this is a really good time to do it. I'm all about, especially since, you know, we're tackling a lot of tough topics this week. I'm all about doing as much as you can to like sort of resource yourself for that. So like if you want to get a snack or some water or some tea, maybe some cushions.
Yeah, now that it's a small group, we can ask, what are your favorite resources? Your favorite
I like that.
resourcing.
If you want to
type it and share in the chat. I will go ahead and share my favorite. My favorite is nap time.
Ooh, that's a really good one. I napped on the plane here. I think my favorite might be, oh, this is interesting. In the winter, I think it would be like a hot cup of tea. And in the summer, it's actually just going outside for just like a few minutes, even if it's just like a 2-minute break, barefoot with my feet in the grass. And we've got some really awesome answers here in the chat that I'd love to share. So we've got Facebook groups with like-minded people, naps, playing with colorful things, nature walks. Yes, that's like a great combination of exercise and nature. I really like that. I would love to hear more about playing with colorful things. I like playing with colorful things too. And oh, we've got someone looking forward to this session based on the awesome title that we have about why everyone else is stupid and why I'm right, essentially, that idea. And so we have someone here who's sort of playing with that and saying, yeah, to validate myself when I doubt people who think everyone else is stupid. So we got a little winky face for that one. And look at that, we've got people from all over here. We got people from Washington and the west coast of the United States. We got people from NYC. We've got someone from Sydney. So every time zone. Yeah, glad you'll tell me why. Vancouver, Canada. Yeah, you didn't know, but that title was a secret title. Patricia's actually going to give us the meaning of life. And all of that is based on why everyone else is wrong and stupid.
I have a funny story around the relationship with that title, because it was like, for sure, like, is it for me? Because that was sort of like already set up when it was assigned to me. And I was like, was this not meant to Mark? This might have been a confusion. This probably is not the best fit for, I mean, the subject for sure, but the title, like
definitely Mark's wheelhouse, yeah.
Yeah. So it was him messing around the words. But we're gonna have a nice experience, I think.
I think so too.
So great, we're 1 minute ahead.
Yeah, 1 minute till liftoff. So get us started in just a minute.
Yeah, just before Shanti gives us a start into the session, an official start, I would really love to ask, of course, this is a session about people who think that everyone is wrong and stupid, right? So, of course, with a compassionate view of these people, I want to know who here identifies as that person who constantly thinks that everyone is wrong, and who's here joining to understand those people, or those of you who identify with people whose life place them gracefully around people who are always thinking that everyone else is wrong and stupid. Just so that I can get a feel of who's here with us today, understand them. I sure used to be that person. Yeah, I don't think everyone else is stupid. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And I think many of us have been both of those people, right? Like sometimes I've been the person who thinks everyone else is stupid and like, oh, how dare they? And then sometimes I'm feeling more empathetic and I'm like, oh yeah, I see the other side. So it just depends. Sometimes what is your state?
Particularly when you're stressed, and that stress is so much that it narrows us and it limits us and you feel constricted. Those moments when you're like, I'll do it, nobody else can do it. It's sort of like we also can embody that often, right? Depending on how the situations are presenting themselves. So before we get into the actual topic, Shanti, would you give us your beautiful introduction, please?
Thank you, Patricia. So I'm going to go ahead and start the recording, folks. Okay. Welcome, everyone. It's really, really wonderful to see all of you. Welcome back to day 2 of our summit on trauma's everyday impact. My name is Shanti, and I'm back again to serve up some hospitality and some tech. So if you have any support needs with using Zoom, don't hesitate to reach out to me via private message. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Much of this is familiar to those who have been here with us these past couple days, so I'll just run through them really quickly for us so that we can get the show on the road, okay? So first things first, a special thanks to those who have the All Access Pass and are here live for contributing to our sustainability and giving us the joy of having humans to interact with. Please turn your cameras on if possible, no matter what you're doing, as it provides really useful feedback for the presenters. Second, if you're watching a replay, you can purchase an all access pass to get into the live Zoom room and see unlimited sessions. We also have Q&As at 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. in the UK. For those in the US, that's 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern time. And this is for those with the All Access Pass. It's done by Roger Mills, a therapist who specializes in PTSD. And this session's presenter, Patricia Aguirre, on our Embodiment Unlimited therapist. So please share information on this week's summit with anyone who wants to uncover the subtle ways in which trauma shows up in their lives. After the live sessions are finished, replays will be sent out. So please share the link I have pasted in the chat with anyone who will benefit. And I'll put it into the chat again here for you. For those who have experienced the benefits from this week's summit and are interested to learn more about the topics we have covered, we offer courses that may fit your needs, whether you're a student or a patient that's hoping to apply this to your own life, or whether you're a coach or a facilitator who's hoping to apply this work to the work that you do with your clients. So we'll talk more about this at the end of the session, but if you're curious, you can check out the link that I'm placing into the chat for more details. And finally, this is a really great time to do a self-safety check-in. So a good question to ask is, are you resourced right now? If you aren't well enough to drive a car, then maybe don't watch and instead go do an act of self-care, your choice, that will be kinder to yourself. Another good question to ask yourself is, are you better served by one-to-one therapy? So this is education and not therapy. And it's not designed for people who are currently going through the worst of their trauma. There's no judgment there. Many of our teachers have been there. I've been there. But it's just about what is the right fit, most appropriate approach to take for you and with what's happening for you right now. And so you need to be robust for these sessions. And don't binge. Replays have been sent out. For those who had the all access pass, I'm putting the link for the replays for you into the chat. Please don't share with those who have not purchased the all access pass. This is just for you. And yeah, just remember to take care of yourself, honor yourself, and if at any point you get tense up, just move and breathe. And we recommend that you do that also between sessions as well. Movement, good company, nature are always a good idea. So with that, I'd love to introduce this session. You know what they say about double mint gum, double the pleasure, double the fun. Well, it's true about the fantastic teachers that we have in the Embodiment Unlimited crew as well. So I'm teaming up with my talented friend Patricia Aguirre again here for another niche topic. This time it will be on trauma and anger, and we've got a fun title that might be familiar to you. It's called Why Everyone Else is Stupid and Wrong. That might be something that you've heard from, kind of gotten a sense from others exhibiting, or it might have been something that has popped into your own head. And Patricia is someone who just has a lot of talent. She's a specialist in developmental trauma. She integrates her knowledge and experience of 20 plus years on Eastern philosophies with trauma sensitive methods, which she is applying to family constellations and attachment-based approaches. She is who young yogis want to be when they grow up. So you're really in for a treat with a talk by her. Without further ado, I'd love to pass on the mic to you, Patricia.
Thank you, Shanti. Yeah, Lana, we deleted under my request. We deleted that line. So welcome, everyone. I want to go straight into topic. I will clarify that I did not choose the title, but it has this sense. The idea is to add a little bit of humor so that we can better start digesting these topics that are sometimes hard. So I previously asked, I don't know if you guys joined a little bit after the start of the hour, I previously asked if you identified with this person who has moments or many constant eternal moments of thinking that everybody is wrong and everyone is stupid. Of course, no judgment. We all have had at least tiny moments, I think, of thinking nobody can do it. I gotta do it myself. What is everyone thinking? But I want to see where we identify, because we can identify with this state within our bodies. And also you might be here if you're wondering how to better manage these people in your life. We're not going to go into practical managing techniques for in this session particularly, because this is mostly geared toward what's happening within this state of everybody's angry. But if you hadn't answered that question, where do you identify yourself? You're welcome to place that in the chat. Okay, so I would invite everyone to take a breath as we begin, to open up the body and allow an easier digestion of what's gonna come up. So even though this is not my preferred wording for our title, and I already mentioned that, anger is a topic that I do like talking about. Why? Because it has taken me a very interesting path to actually discover a healthy place for anger. A lot of places, particularly those who are very infused with religious thoughts or even spiritual thoughts, tend to demonize anger. And it's not easy to find places where we can say, yes, I know this is not great. I have heard that I shouldn't be angry all the time, but this is what's happening inside. This is my reality. And come to this place of, you can call it humility or authenticity, or just like, I cannot take any more steps. This is where I'm at. And that's wonderful, right? So usually in trauma words, the clearest association with anger is people who are in the state of fight and flight, right? So just briefly gonna mention this in case this is the first time somebody hears this, but we are talking about 4 trauma responses right now, but the very known ones and the ones that have been spoken about until recent years have been fight and flight and freeze. And they are relatively opposite in the way that they show up. So fight and flight is an activation, is short breathing, it's excitement, is I need to do stuff, it's anxiety, it's restless, it's I want to do more, right? So people who will find resourced when talking to a lot of people, when joining social spaces. And the opposite of that is freeze, which is also, I like to use the word collapse. So there we're underactivated, which means I get numb, I get spaced out, and I lose touch with what's happening in my body. So I might be angry, but I don't even feel it. And if somebody asks me, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. Nothing is wrong. It's all perfect. You know? And while the intention to keep things nice and steady and peaceful is something to be credited for, the fact that it comes at a cost is to be addressed, right? So usually anger is associated with that previous state where there is an activation in the body, because anger is usually an emotion that's lived through activation, right? It's rarely seen. I was gonna make a post earlier with this little, I don't know if you guys seen the movie Inside Out. If you haven't, I highly recommend that. And there's this little cartoon figure that I love that constantly presses the button and fires up. And it's like a little fire, this cartoon drawing. I love it. It's super cute. But it's usually red, right? Anger is usually activation. And when you think of someone angry, it's usually some doing something with their body, right? So before I step ahead and start talking, continue talking about anger, I want to clarify that there is a clear distinction between the feeling of activation of anger in the body and what I do with that. So I can be really pissed off at what somebody did, and that doesn't mean that I go and break their toys, right? I think this is sort of like my theories, that at some point people were like unable to find a distinction between the action and the result, and the emotion that is relatively valid to be angered about something. But of course, we're not discussing the real meaning of anger and the healthy manifestations of anger. And we're going into why some people are stuck there. And this is the people who are under the title of the session, always thinking everybody is wrong and everyone is stupid. And it's a constant state of anger. So of course, under a trauma perspective, these people are stuck somewhere in a trauma response that leads to anger. I'm gonna make a little representation here about how we come into contact with people in our everyday, and this is the present time. And this is, of course, the person who's gonna represent anger today because it's red. And this is a regular person who's just passing by and gets all the fire from that angry person. And usually it's not justified, right? When there's a person who's activated because of their trauma. And even though there may be something going on here, when it's trauma related, there's an overreaction. And these people get a bill or an invoice for something much larger than they actually broke. So it could be justified, oh yes, I broke a glass, but I did not like break your house down. So this person would react to the whole house burning down instead of I just broke a glass. And it's really revealing for these people when they start seeing that it's not just one, but it's two or three, or three people that are coming across in front, and they get all of that anger yelled at, or whatever manifestation of anger that person gets. And they sometimes see, okay, yeah, I'm not wrong, but this is happening constantly. And I see that I'm starting to hurt people. And it usually takes some time in regular cases when there's a trauma reaction stuck. And usually, and this is a vision that we share within the systemic therapy vision, is that these are people who were bypassers. They were just passing by. And it's easy, and I would do it under quotations, it's easy to yell at the kid because the kid will not say anything back. They will not defend themselves. The employee will not do anything because it's their job that's at risk. So this person is consciously, but many times it's unconscious. It's not justified because we are adults and we can take care of what we're doing. But the person actually is refusing to see where the anger actually comes from. And this is usually in the past. Of course, when it's a trauma response, it has to do with another story. And these passerbys, they might have their bit of responsibility or they might not, in the case of many children. But the real story lies between these two. But to face this story might be too challenging emotionally, too challenging for the nervous system. So it's easier to try to face it in bits. Is it helpful? It's like taking an aspirin maybe, but it's usually not helpful and it doesn't solve the larger issue. Why does this movement happen? I just mentioned one of them, one of the key things, and these are, we could say, theories that trauma researchers try to figure out. Why do we do this? Why do we not face that pain and where it belongs, the story where it belongs, and not face it with people who actually have nothing to do with the original anger? So one of the theories is, and this is one that I usually use a lot, it's too much for the body. It's too much for my nervous system to deal with the pain that it was somebody who cared for me who hurt me. And I could not lash out at my mother, let's say, because of course it's really hard when it's an abusive situation with parents and there's aggression. To be able to stop that aggression, you have to be either in a more adult state than the adult, or in a more aggressive state than the adult. That's really tough for a child. So there's no win, there's no way to win. As we are slowly going into compassion for these people and understanding for these situations, this does not justify these things, right? Yeah. It's important to know if any of you guys are, or anyone who's listening on the recording, if this is triggering because you are in an abusive and difficult, risky situation, be very gentle with what you are, how you are processing this. It's never justified to repeat cycles of violence. We can understand from afar when we are safe. Yeah. So understanding and empathy comes when we are safe. So let's, before we start stepping into more levels of compassion, let's take that into consideration. Compassion is not well done if it does not include me. Okay. So another idea about why do we repeat these cycles? Why do we use other people to repeat this thing? So this person tries to repeat a similar story in order to be able to stop it. So let's take the child away, because they don't go into this equation that I'm going to show you right now. So they may not have been able to defend themselves from a parent or from somebody who was mean in their past. But I can stop someone who has nothing to do with the story and that I find that I can deal with, like a lighter weight, right, in a boxing match. So I can take you, and I will try to feel in my body the feeling of winning over and stopping and putting a limit to someone in an attempt to repair this damage. Again, so I'm gonna attempt to do what I did not do here and try to do it in a safer and easier place. Again, does it help? Usually it doesn't really. It needs a lot of maturity to be able to feel those cycles inside. This is usually called the illusion of the solution that we can replicate in the present. Another one, and we're gonna go into this in a little depth, another reason that we see of why these cycles are repeated. Let's put this away a little bit. So there was the original cycle of violence or whatever. It's also like treason or wounds like that, or even abandonment. And the child is like angry. Why did you leave me? Or why did you betray me? Treason, more than treason is betray, it's the word. So this person chooses, mostly unconsciously, to remain in a defensive state, so as not to feel as vulnerable as I felt when this person left me or hurt me or betrayed me. So I will constantly be the bigger one, the tougher one, or the defended one, so that I make sure that that pain is not repeated. So even when this story is past and somebody who may represent the possibility of other realities, so non-abandonment, non-betrayal, shows up, this connection would challenge me to be able to say, I open myself to the possibility of being hurt again. That is too much to handle when there's trauma involved. So it's safer to stay in the defended state of anger. It's safer because it feels familiar. It feels safer because it is something that's supposedly defended me from some things. An actual connection would represent risking. Connection always means openness, vulnerability. So when I dare step into that, We risk whatever happens when I'm open. So love and connection happens when I'm open, but also pain happens when I'm open. In an ideal adult state, we can open to both realities fully and know when and how to face both. But in a trauma response, we are not in our most adult state. We are in a trauma response, we are still living within the story of what happened. So the person is thinking, somebody here who loves me is bound to hurt me. And that's why I think that this is going to happen again, even when this is aware or not aware. All right, how are we doing so far? How is this landing? What is new? What are some insights that are coming through? One of the key steps in stepping out of this relating through trauma responses, is actually being able to step into vulnerability. And vulnerability will feel very uncomfortable when I start to step into what's happening. Because that anger is a defense of something, of I was hurt. There is an element, and I will love to mention this before we close the session. We will hold on to our trauma responses, whether that's anger or people pleasing or collapse, a sense of safety. For as long as we never feel that we have another better resource to be defended. And that resource is usually being able to choose and set limits. So until I have felt, developed, and embodied my ability to say no, I will use my defaults, right? So anger is what keeps me safe, but that's a protection that came out of trauma, that came in a child state. So until I step into my adult and know that within me is, I used to call it the driving stick. I feel the handle of, I can stop this whenever this starts being uncomfortable, whenever I see something that's not right, whenever I see that this person will actually abandon me or will actually betray me, I can see that, I can choose for me, and I can do something about it. And usually when we went through any type of abuse, that's one of the things that we lose. The ability to choose and be able to know that I can act. So until I can resource myself with that, I will keep those ways of feeling safe. This is key in trauma healing, particularly when there has been abuse. It's key. And to actually do this through the body. If you are interested in this and this resonates for you, do check out Paul Linden's work. He is here during this week. I don't know how many sessions he's doing. I know he has one tomorrow morning for me. So yeah, I don't know if Shanti's gonna share the schedule in a few minutes, but
Yeah.
he's really good at that.
We'll take a look.
Thank you. Overreacting can be a clue that it is historical. Yes. They could not stop the trauma in the past. Exactly. And they have not found the resources of how to do that still in the present. So they keep those reactions. So if we want to find compassion, is understanding that. But again, particularly in abuse, and usually particularly in abuse, it's important to also include ourselves, as I mentioned, right? So before we go into compassion and understanding and getting a master degree on what's happening with the other person, I need to hear myself too, because that might be my own trauma response to not be able to hear myself and put a stop to treatments that are not, even when they make sense for the past, they don't make sense here. And it's important to keep both perspectives. Does it make sense here? Paul Linden, you wrote that perfectly fine. I'm not sure if he has a book, but he has a program under the Unlimited Embodiment Unlimited courses. I don't know the name now, but I can look it up as soon as I'm done speaking. Wonderful, I'm reading. I wear noise canceling headphones always when I'm outside because it happens much. This gives insight and some compassion towards those who are angry. Yeah. So it could, when you know, and when we understand all of these things that are happening behind these types of situations, we can better manage and not get so blown up by our own reaction, or know when to step away. Yeah. Even if you don't identify with these stories of anger as a personal default, that this relates to your story, and you want to find resources of how to better manage these people in your life, I would definitely encourage you to also research your own relationship to anger. Why? Not necessarily because we're mirrors and all of that stuff that I don't necessarily go by, but because the more that I know the language of anger, the more that I know the language of anger. So the more that I know it in me, the more that I can read it and know how to handle it in the outside. So if I work with my history of anger and I know how to place that, when I see it in front, I can go like, hey, I want to hear you, but could you please take that down? Could you please take your tone down a little bit? That's going to make it easier to speak. Or, hey, I notice I'm here and I want to listen to what you're saying, but would you please, do you need 2 minutes do you need 2 minutes on your own? And we can come back to this. Or, hey, you know what? I don't feel comfortable in this situation. So this type of language and sensibility I can get when I work on my stuff. And anger is also an integrated piece within me. I know that I have to wrap up, Shanti. I just want to add one more line to this. It's very common to find people who match this state of overwhelm and tendencies towards anger with people who go into collapse and not responding. You see how this would make this very easy. So I will scream and you will keep quiet. Yes, I will keep quiet because I don't know how to do it otherwise. That's why it's important, if you don't identify with this and you identify with this one, to also be able to step that energy up, to be able to set limits and to express your needs and act upon them. So that's important. One of the key things in healing states of collapse and underwhelm is access to anger. Again, not violence, not all this stuff that we do with anger, but the energy of activation itself. So with that, I'm wrapping up today's session. I would invite you to open space within our body. I know some of you are feeling motivated or guided to your next steps on what you want to do. So I would definitely encourage you to write that down. Yes, access to anger. That's what I said. Yes. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by access to anger is I have an inner guidance that says this is not right for me, and I engage with that activation, and I know what to do with that. Because usually in collapse states, it's like I did not even notice that hurt me. That's what I mean by access to anger. Again, I'm not saying ability to go and scream at the world or, like smack people's faces. That would actually encourage you to feel that during practice, to know that you have the ability to do so, right? But that's another story. Thank you so much for being here, for listening. I would love it if you take a couple of seconds to write down your insights. And thank you, Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. That was fantastic as always. Anger is such a difficult topic, and it's one that it takes a lot of work to sort of work through that. So yeah, your insights are really appreciated. And I'm seeing in the chat a lot of people have found this very profound and very enlightening. So yeah, many thanks. I have put a link to Paul Linden's website into the chat for those who are interested. And I have a question for you, Patricia. We've got someone in the chat asking if you have a website or some way to contact you. And as Patricia's putting that information into the chat for you all, a reminder at this time to just write down, so there's her email in the chat, write down a key takeaway from this session for yourself, so that you can kind of take a look at it at the end of this week, and see kind of the list of learnings that you're going to be able to apply to your life. The replays are being made available as soon as possible after each session, so just check your emails for the automated message, and remember that you can still invite friends or families. Don't tell them about this next week because it'll be too late. So just stop and think of someone right now after the session ends, and think about what might be the best way to tell them about it, and go ahead and invite them. I'm throwing the link into the chat. So the hidden trauma one is the link that you can provide to your friends and family members who might want to attend this summit. And for those who are interested in learning more about the courses that we offer to go further in depth into some of these topics, we have the link that I put into the chat for Trauma is Your Superpower. And then again, I placed the replay link for those of you who are on the All Access Pass. So some of this might be confusing information for all of you. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a screen share and sort of do a really quick tour through these pages that I'm talking about. So just hold on one moment for me here. All right. So first thing I'm going to walk you through is our schedule. So we have one more session coming up today, and that's at 3 a.m. UK time. Here for me in Central Time in Chicago, it's going to be 9 p.m. And it's going to be a watch party for Mark's session on the topic of trauma and pride. And are you confident or are you compensating? And then, as you can see, there's a whole menu of amazing sessions over the next several days. I think we were looking at the question of, how many sessions do we have with Paul Linden, since he's going to be doing some work related to the session that we just had. And he's got one on Thursday, it looks like, on looking at from powerlessness to wholeness and joy. That'll be at 2300. And let me just take a quick look and see if he has any other sessions. I'll be hosting that session with Paul.
I just saw one, Shanti. Sorry, it's there, right there. Well, how to actually feel safe. So that's Friday, I'm guessing.
Yes, that's on Friday, and that'll be at 1 a.m. UK time. How to actually feel safe, trauma for martial artists. Which, I know he's an Aikido martial artist, so that he'll have a lot to bring. That's awesome. So that's the schedule, and just a quick, we don't have enough time to actually watch the video, but this is the further courses that you can take. Go to the link that I dropped in the chat and just spend some time for yourself just scrolling through it and watching the videos and then seeing what options are available. There's different options based on whether you just want a course to sort of help you make changes to your own life versus whether you're a facilitator. And I think there's some group work in there as well to help integrate your learning. So there's a lot of different options for you to sort of build out the course that best fits you. And then again, this is a site for those who want to register for the current summit that we're doing now. And if you aren't already, you can sign up for the all access pass here for just $19. So that's sort of an overview of sort of the links that I put into the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and close out this session so that you can get some rest before your next one, our next with the watch party with Mark, and I'll be hosting that as well. So yeah, see you in just about an hour and 20 minutes or so. Thanks again for coming, all of you.
Thank you, Shanti. Thank you, all of you. Hope to see you again this week.
Bye.